All right, getting clear. Now most of this module is an excerpt from our Zero to Profitable franchise system and one of the modules there. Not all of it is, because there's a bunch of different activities in the actual Zero to Profitable franchise module, but I wanted to give you a taste of what's in there. So clarity, there's a phrase that clarity is power. When you are clear, there's nothing more powerful than being clear and having clarity. And so the purpose is to get crystal clear on what you want your life to look like so that you can locate and build a profitable franchise with ease and with clarity. And so most people say, hey, well, just what's the best franchise for me? I think I mentioned earlier why I hate that question. The reason why I hate that question is it's like going up to someone and asking, hey, what kind of car should I buy? And without any context or understanding what your goals are, what your situation is, how could someone answer that question? Right? Because it depends. Well, are you someone in their 60s who's retired and has a bunch of discretionary income and doesn't have any kids? Well, then maybe it's a sports car. Are you a mom with a bunch of kids? Maybe it's a minivan. If you are, there's just so many different ways to go with that. And so this is where having clarity is the key part of finding the right franchise. And most people do it backwards, where they start looking, they have a vague idea of kind of maybe what they want, or they like the idea of franchising, but they're just like, I'm open-minded. And we'll talk about that whole open-minded thing, but that's why most people struggle in trying to find a franchise, because they're not clear. So we are going to get clear together. This is probably the most important module in this entire program, because with this and doing this properly, the rest of everything can become very easy. So we're going to cover how to create a clear vision so that you can make finding and deciding on the right franchise easy and painless. We are not going to talk about creating your why, because we already talked about that actually. We're going to talk about calculating your net worth, and we provide you with a tool to track that. It's one of the many tools that we offer in our system, but I wanted to give that to you because I thought it would be just make things simpler for you. Getting clear on your specific transition strategy from employee to entrepreneur, making sure you pick the right franchise that matches your strategy. So why is getting clear so important? Well, you can't replace your income and find a business that you love without knowing your exact destination. I mean, imagine that you went on a road trip from New York to California and you didn't know the exact address that you were. Creating your vision and your why is the most vital piece of the franchise buying process, because you get clear first on every single detail of what you want your life and business to look like. And this acts as your North Star. So whenever you get confused or overwhelmed or you feel stuck, you reference back to your vision to get you back on track and help you make the tough decisions. So let's stick with that analogy that you're planning a trip. The first thing you do is what? You're figuring out where you're going. Exactly. Buying a franchise is no different. The first and most important step is to figure out exactly where you want to go. And the more specificity you have, the higher likelihood you have of getting to your destination. Example, imagine you're living in New York and you say, I'm taking a trip to California. Great. So we have an idea of the direction you're going. Now, depending upon the vehicle, aka the strategy you're using, it will impact whether you get to your desired destination and how long it will take you to get there and what your experience will be along the way. I reference that because it's not just about getting to, if your goal right now is to go from being an employee to being an entrepreneur, and let's say making $250,000 a year as an entrepreneur, well, there's different ways to get there. You can do it slaving away in your business 12 or 14 hours a day, not seeing your family, being completely stressed out or miserable. But there's also another path and strategy of not doing it that way. So although your outcome is important, the way you get there is important as well. So to add more context to all of that, there are a few key ways you can get from where you are now, let's say New York, to where you want to go, California. First off, imagine when someone asked you where you want to go, you just said, hey, yeah, I want to go someplace warm. Like if they were saying, hey, where do you want to travel to? Yeah, someplace warm. Well, you can end up in Vegas, California, Texas, Florida, Georgia. It's not clear enough. And so it's a silly analogy, but this is what happens when someone says, well, I want a franchise that will make me money, or I just want something that can replace my income. Well, okay, it's a great start to narrowing our focus, but we need to get a lot more clear on the destination, or else you could end up in California at Disneyland when you really wanted to go to Disney World in Florida. Big difference. So let's compare that analogy to looking for a franchise. You say, hey, I want a franchise that's profitable. Well, there are franchises that can be profitable that are Monday through Friday businesses, open just during standard business hours. Some are home-based where you don't have a retail location and only a handful of employees, or it's just you with no employees. Or there are franchises that can be profitable that are open Monday through Sunday, open 14 hours a day, and you need 15 employees. And you have a retail location that you pay $5,000 to $10,000 a month in rent with a lot of overhead. So do you see how the experience to getting to your desired outcome, aka a profitable franchise, can be very different here? So this is why getting crystal clear on exactly what you want your business to look like and mapping out your route to your destination, aka your goal, is mission critical. So let's hone down even more on your experience along the way to your destination, aka profitable franchise. So back to our travel analogy. What you may want is to travel from New York to California on a private jet and sit back sipping champagne and lounging back. That may be what you want, right? Or you're going, okay, yeah, that's what I want. I'm very clear that I want to fly on a private jet. But based on the reality of your current financial situation, you may need to book an economy ticket and be scrunched up in the middle seat for a couple of hours longer. Or you can pay for the extra legroom seat. And for some of you, your financial situation allows you to book a first class ticket. This is where I want to hone in on this for a second, which is I see two things. And this is really pertaining to actually unrealistic expectations, right? And so when people come to me and go, okay, I want to make $200,000 a year profit in my business. Like, okay, great, awesome. And then I ask them, well, how much are you making now? They're like, well, I make $100,000 a year now. Hold on, what? Well, focus on getting free first. Like, that's good that that's your ultimate goal, but what happens is then you get so stuck on having to find a business that makes you 200, and then you spin your wheels, and then you never start, or you never get going. So there's a powerful concept, which is to get free first. Like get your initial outcome first, right? But in this analogy, to see where I'm going with this, your financial situation, it may force you to use a specific strategy. So if you have a $200,000 net worth and you want to own a McDonald's or a retail franchise that costs $750,000 to get open, and the franchisor has a $500,000 net worth requirement, well, you need to adjust your expectations or your strategy and find a partner so you can meet that criteria. And it's the same as if you have a $750 budget for a plane ticket. Well, the odds are you aren't taking a private jet that costs $10,000 a flight, right? And so there's another analogy to think about that's tied in here, which I'll hit on in a second because I know we touch on it in these slides. So let's talk about one more important principle. Is that what happens is you will gain more clarity on your outcome as you take action and make progress. So although I'm saying, hey, get as clear as possible, the likelihood is you won't have full clarity until you actually get going. And so the analogy here is think of a car and headlights in the dark. The headlights when you're driving, you can't see all the way to your destination when you're on a dark road. all you see is the next few hundred feet ahead of you. And you keep going in faith that your lights will continue to work. And so that's a little bit how this progress is. You have clarity on your destination, what your outcome is, but you're only able to see like a few steps ahead in the process. And that's normal. So in the beginning, you just need to move towards your outcome. And as you get closer and closer, your decision making will narrow, because with each action and step, you'll gain more and more clarity. All right. I hope this is making sense, because this is a really powerful part of this whole program. So we'll cover this in the next module, but you may start looking at 10 franchises across 3 different industries. But as you start talking to the franchisors, learning about the business model, talking to the franchisees in the system, your path will become clearer by the day, and then your strategy will get more focused, right? You may start to eliminate franchises right off the bat that you thought you were interested in once you begin those conversations. Similar to once you start, going back to the travel analogy, once you start heading from New York to California, as long as you're going west, you're good. But as you start to get closer and closer, you really need to hone your path and actions towards exactly where in California you are going. In the beginning, you can hop on any one of the roads and routes that go out west. But again, as you narrow down, you start getting closer and closer, you have to start to be more tactical and strategic about the actions you're taking to get you to your destination, right? Because you could end up in San Francisco, but you wanted to be in San Diego. And they're 500 miles away from each other in 2 very different destinations. So in this module, we're getting as clear as possible on our destination so that you can get there on time, on budget, and have the best experience you can that aligns with your current life situation. So let's get excited and plan your trip. So the purpose of a vision is for you to always make decisions aligned with what you have clearly thought through and decided that you want. Most people just start looking at every franchise under the sun, never filtering the franchise through a clearly laid out vision to make sure that it's the right business. This is the most important step, period. So I said this is the most important module in this entire program. Vision. So we're going to hone in on 4 key areas, and what you're going to do is craft a vision. You're going to gain clarity on 4 key areas of your life. Financially. What do you want financially out of this business and what it will provide for you, right? And not just the business, like what do you want financially overall? What do you want from a business standpoint? Like what are the characteristics of that business? From a family standpoint, like what do you want your family life to look like? And then what do you want your lifestyle to look like? So the reality is each area impacts every other area. So if you want a lifestyle of maximum time with your family, well, opening a food franchise that's open 363 days a year, it probably isn't going to be a part of your strategy. Does that make sense? So you need to make decisions that align together. And maybe you make a conscious decision of, okay, for the first 2 years, I'm actually going to sacrifice time with my family to build the business up so that I have more time a few years from now, right? And that could be a part of your strategy, but that it's helpful if you get clear on that from the beginning, not by accident. So financially, how much money do you want to make and when? So you will set a 1 year, 3 year, and 5 year target. Here's why this is important, because most people, there's a phrase, most people overestimate what they can do in 1 year and underestimate what they can do in 5. I hear it all the time. People want to make, well, year 1, I'm going to make $100,000 in profit. It is highly unlikely that the first year in starting your business, you're going to make $100,000 in profit. It's just talk to any entrepreneur, right? And so if you're setting that as the goal, you're setting yourself up to be highly disappointed. But what you can get to in 3 years and 5 years, you could potentially completely blow that number out of the water. So if you have a 3-year and 5-year mindset, you're going to put yourself in a higher likelihood to succeed. If you ask many entrepreneurs what that first year or two is like, it probably was not fun. But now that they're in year 5 and 7 and they're making a ton of money and they have complete lifestyle freedom, well, they never would have got there without getting through the lean years of year 1 to 2. So this is why I want you to have an important reference point so that you set yourself up for success, okay? So again, this is mission critical. Do not skip this. So, I already said it. So you see, sometimes I forget what I put in these modules. Most people overestimate what they can do in 1 year and underestimate what they can do in 5. But set a clear destination on what you want to make financially. Don't worry. Once you choose your franchise, we will revisit these numbers and revise if necessary. For right now, you're selecting your target so we can start moving in the right direction. You're having a progress over perfection mentality. Example, year 1, these are just hypothetical numbers, not a promise of any numbers, just completely hypothetical for no specific franchise, right? Year 1, you make $36,000 a year in profit. Year 3, you make $84,000 a year in profit. Year 5, you make $144,000 a year in profit, right? So like that is an example of what entrepreneurship may look like in terms of what it looks like to scale. So you're going to get clear and establish a clear vision and goals for each category. Now let's talk something really fun, money. As a part of finding a franchising, being able to narrow down your search, you'll need to know exactly where you stand financially today. Franchisors have financial requirements, the 2 most common that you will see as you are finding your franchise. Number 1 is your net worth. Number 2 is your liquid net worth. So your net worth, if you're not familiar, is all of your assets that you own minus all of your liabilities. So as an example, the value of your house, the value of your cars, your IRAs, the money you have in the bank, minus your mortgage, your car loan payments, any debts, etc. Your liquid net worth is the amount of money you have liquid. Liquid assets are ones that can quickly be converted to cash. So an investment account is considered to be liquid, a taxable investment account. In the eyes of a retirement account could be considered liquid if it's with a previous employer, because then you can use that in a ROBS plan, or else it's not going to be able to be count as liquid. But CDs, money market funds, savings accounts, checking accounts, etc. Right? And again, yeah, there we go. Savings accounts, checking, CDs, money market, stocks, crypto, etc. For now, you can put your 401k and IRAs under liquid. We'll cover this more later in the funding section, which we already talked about. So this was done in reverse for whatever reason. All right, so my gift to you, a tool, is a net worth calculator. I've uploaded the file in this module, so you should be able to click somewhere in here and be able to download it. It's a calculator for you, and you can plug and play, and it will calculate your total net worth. And then basically anything under the cash and investment section would be what would be liquid. So what's cool is that you'll have it if and when franchisors ask, because there typically will be franchise applications at some point where they want a breakdown of your assets, especially when you apply for loans too. All right, so let's talk about the transition. So have you thought about how you plan to transition from your job and what your time frame is? Do you even want to transition from your career or job, from your current job? And this is where your vision is helpful to reference and document any notes along with your 1-year vision. Here are some prompts for you. So does your initial plan involve leaving your job and going full-time immediately, or slowly building your business while you work your job? When is your goal to fully transition from your current role? What is the minimum amount of income you need to transition? Can you meet your financial obligations if you quit your job to get the business open full time through either your spouse's income, savings, investments, etc. And remember, you can always go back to work and get a job once you get the business open and set up if you need to. My belief is that you're going to put yourself in the highest likelihood of success by going full time in the business right away. If you've never run a business, that's the best way to go about it. If you have experience running and operating a business and really scaling teams, etc., maybe you have a little bit of a leg up. But most of the most successful entrepreneurs that I know, they are full time in their business. And maybe years later, they're able to become more semi-absentee and absentee. But it's usually, it came from them being full time and all in first. So it's not to say that you have to do it that way, but I don't think you're going to see the same level of success as semi-absentee as you would being all in the beginning. And so, you don't need to have crystal clear answers to these questions right now, but you want to start thinking about them, putting the pen to paper, and then you'll gain more clarity as you go along. But this will give you clarity on the direction and strategy for you to use moving forward. And just a quick note. So after opening my first franchise in California, I actually went back to work. I got it up and running. I spent months in the store and then went back to work. And then we moved across the country. And then after buying my franchise resale, I spent a lot of time in the store getting my hands dirty, many, many hours, late nights, turning it around. And then finally I got a manager in place and got things stabilized. And then I went back to work again. I then had 2 businesses generating money, and I was able to continue to do financial planning because at the time I still really enjoyed doing that work. So there is no right way to do this. It's a journey and not a destination. All right. Well, that takes us to the next module where we're going to talk a little bit more about finding the right franchise. So see you in the next one.